Hello and welcome to That Football Podcast, your weekly dose of everything football. I'm your host, Massimo Sciasci, and today I'm joined by Sammy Barry once again. This is going to be episode 7. Sammy, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling good, thanks. Thanks for bringing me back on. It's always a nice chat. Lots to get into.
Yeah, obviously, I had to bring you on because this is such an absolute big subject because Salernitana, your former team, have been demoted. Absolute disgrace.
I know it was unbelievable. I mean, the season before this season, they were in Serie A. A few seasons ago, they had Ribéry. They're a huge club. Massive stadium. A lot of fans go to the games. So they were probably one of the favourites to go back up, but bad season. So they were fighting relegation the whole season. That's why I left, because there wasn't many opportunities. They were relying on the older players to try keep them up, but in the end, they got relegated to Serie C. Absolute disaster. All their main players would have left, and I got in contact with a few people, obviously I know from there, and I wanted to know what the final game was like against Sampdoria at home when they lost and got confirmed relegated. And he said it was just they were ripping the chairs out from the stadium, throwing on the pitch, throwing absolutely anything on the pitch. He reckoned all the players would have had to leave the city because if they were seen, it could have been dangerous. All the fans were protesting outside, so it seemed like it was a grim day when they lost to Sampdoria at home to seal their relegation.
Yeah, absolute disgrace to the sport and all of football. So Salernitana demoted to Serie C after Sampdoria was obviously awarded a 3-0 victory after fireworks and seats were thrown onto the pitch. Crazy scenes,
Well, I mean, it was ridiculous anyway, because Sampdoria were meant to be relegated. So it was meant to be against Frosinone. So Sampdoria, one team that weren't in the relegation sort of playoffs, they got cancelled. So they automatically got relegated. They got banned. So they got relegated automatically. I can't remember who it was. I think Brescia. So everyone then moved down one. So Sampdoria then got another chance. Frosinone then escaped the relegation playoff. The Sampdoria, I mean, they're so lucky. They were relegated. They did get relegated. Frosinone escaped, were lucky as well. But Salernitana, maybe it would have been different against Frosinone. I don't know.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. So I have the story right here. So Sampdoria were initially relegated to Serie C for the first time in their history, only to be handed a lifeline after the season ended when Brescia were docked points for FFP, financial fair play, and dropping them below Sampdoria. I mean, so unpredictable football is.
It's so ridiculous because it was three clubs I will have a bit of connection with. Sampdoria, when I went to Italy for the first time, I went on trial at Sampdoria. I was actually there for a week and a half, up in Genoa, a nice city. And then they asked me back to go on another trial, but Salernitana offered me to sign, so obviously I was going to choose that. Frosinone, obviously, you would know as well, we stay at the Frosinone International Academy, and the director of the academy for Salernitana, so he ran the Primavera, he had ties with Frosinone and he ran that academy. So it was like every club in the mix I had some sort of history with. So it was weird. It was weird.
Yeah, so I am to believe that before, obviously, you went to Salernitana, you did go to Italy previously, and you did train with Sampdoria. So can you maybe shed some light onto that story?
Yeah, I did. I went to a few clubs, but Sampdoria, they're in Primavera 1. So they verse like Juventus, AC Milan, like all the top clubs in Italy. So they're probably the best club I've been at in terms of the Primavera. The first team was similar to, I suppose, to Salernitana, fighting relegation all year, but the Primavera were definitely very good, and they were older as well, because Primavera 1, you're allowed older players. But no, that was a good experience. And if it wasn't for Salernitana, I probably would have gone back there for a bit more. But yeah, I only did stay there for a week. I had to go back because I had school exams. But I met some really good players. Played with some good players who played in Serie A when they're in Serie A, also the season before. And I met Chiesa's brother for Liverpool. He was one of the only people that spoke English. I didn't have any idea who he was. But one of my last few days, I was like, oh, like if you want to do something on the weekend, like what's your Instagram? So I was bored. I was just staying with the players. And he said he had a house. So anyway, he gave me his Instagram and it had like 110,000 followers. And I was like, what the hell? Like, I don't think this guy's even made a professional debut. I was like, oh, you're a bit famous, mate. And he said, oh, nah, it's just because of my brother. And it turned out he was, Chiesa's brother, who's like a king in Italy because he carried them to the Euros in 2021. So it's crazy.
Yeah, how was the interaction like with his brother?
He was very humble. Like I would have had absolutely no idea who he was. Like I only asked for his Instagram because he was like probably one of my better friends during that week because he spoke good English. But I had no idea who he was. He was such a nice guy. Like you would never have thought it. Their dad was quite famous as well. So the whole family was crazy. And I remember just scrolling through his Instagram after this guy's followed me and it's like him on private jets with his brother and other footballers. And it's just like, it was so crazy. He's 20. He was 20. He was in Fiorentina's academy before, but he still hasn't made his debut. So he's probably 21 now. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with him. But no, he's a nice guy, a good player as well, midfielder.
So when you were talking to him, was that at that moment the same point that his brother Federico Chiesa was at Liverpool?
Yeah, I think it was around that time where he was getting signed for Liverpool. So I was like, I remember asking him a few questions. He said, I think at that point he'd met Slot, but I was more interested in when he was at Juventus, obviously, because he played with Ronaldo. So I'm a big fan of Ronaldo, as you probably know. So I was asking him, I wasn't really asking about Liverpool. I was saying, what was your brother saying at Juventus when Ronaldo was there? And he said, Ronaldo, actually, the Italians, the club didn't like him too much because he sort of did his own thing. Like he wouldn't eat with the team. He would do his own thing in the gym. He'd have his own private chef. He was a bit, not arrogant, but maybe like conflicted with the Italians a bit. So he said, he wasn't as well liked, but he said, he was really, you could see like he was just well above the rest. Like he was an unbelievable player and he had such a aura about him in the changing room, obviously Juventus. So that was good to hear from the brother of someone who shared the dressing room with Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah, that's obviously good to know. And hopefully you keep meeting these famous people. You know, you've had so many interactions with so many, big players across the world. Who knows when it can, stop?
Yeah, well, I still keep in contact with him. I message each other every now and again. So yeah, hopefully, we'll keep in contact and I'll see what he's up to this season.
Yeah, perfect. So going back to obviously the topic with Salernitana demoted. So I'm to believe that this was actually the second leg. That's when it got canned. So Sampdoria already had a 2-0 lead.
They did, yeah. So Salernitana had to throw the kitchen sink at it. And to be fair, they actually did score a goal, but it got disallowed. I think the fans thought wrongly as well, so that added to the fire, which made the fans even more pissed because I think they scored a goal to make it 2-1 early on. So they had belief, they had a comeback, but it got disallowed. And I think once it got disallowed and Sampdoria scored the third goal overall, it was game over.
Yeah, so looking at the results, so obviously Sampdoria already had that 2-0 lead in the first leg. And then obviously you play home and away, so that 2-0 victory was at their home. They go to Salernitana now in Salerno, and they're 2-0 up in the second leg when the incident occurred. So
Okay.
obviously, Game's basically gone 4-0. They're not coming back. Chaos.
And it's a shame because it's such a big club. But I mean, for Serie C, like they don't suit it at all. They're a Serie A club, realistically. The facilities, the fans, the stadium. So for them being in Serie C, like playing against, like I've been at some Serie C clubs like Pontedera, Sestre Levante, tiny stadiums, no fans, bad facilities, and now Salernitana joining them, it just seems so weird.
When you were at Salernitana, may I ask, did you actually get any chance to watch the first team while they're training? Like not on obviously online or that, like behind closed doors?
Well, I did train with them a few times, and the training ground was across the road from where I was staying with the players at the hotel. So yeah, we did watch them a bit. I went to obviously all the home games as well. So yeah, I got to see what it was like, as well as obviously training with them. There was a few they changed manager, I think 2, if not 3 times that season. So it was very chaotic, but it was a good experience for sure.
So while you were there, what do you think the difference was between Salernitana, their first team, and Pontedera and like all those other ones that you've been to during Serie C? What do you think the difference is?
Well, obviously the main difference was the players. I mean, Salernitana had players who played against Messi in the World Cup, like Rustic, the Australian. There was also a player from Tunisia who played in the World Cup as well. Those were just people I was talking to. I was talking to this guy, and he said, "Yeah, I played against Rustic against Australia in the World Cup." So I met 2 people that played in the last World Cup, and there were others. I think there were others as well, international players. One player, Jeff Rain Adelaide, he was probably their main player. He used to play for Lyon, so he was a huge player. He actually he had a really bad season. I think he just stopped caring almost. He didn't even start towards the end. I was at the final game I went to watch at Salernitana's ground before I left. Rain Adelaide got subbed off in the first half. He was booed. He just had a horrible game, and he just didn't care. You could see he wasn't tracking back. He lost the ball so sloppily. He didn't care, and that was the beginning of the end for him, which was terrible for Salernitana because he was their best player. So he stopped caring, which probably just made the dressing room and the environment worse. But I mean, I left, so I didn't really know what happened. But all I know is he didn't start again, which is a shame, really.
So what it sounds like is that the whole club has basically just gone chaotic the last year. Different managers, 3 different managers or so. Dressing room, constant changing, different, philosophy, everything like that. It's just unfortunate, I mean, for the club, because I'm looking online and it says the incident highlights concerning trend of fan relegated issues affecting Salernitana as they were already facing sanctions for the fans' behaviour in previous matches. So it's like a trend within the club.
Yeah, well, I suppose it's like any big club to get relegated. They go through heaps of managers. The fans just turn bad towards the end of the season. So that's pretty standard, especially in Italy. The fans are so passionate. So I'm not surprised by that at all. But yeah, I'm sure being a player in those last few months would have been pretty bad. I wouldn't have liked to be one of those players being seen out and about because the fans definitely wouldn't have taken to them well if they saw them out and about. Rustic told me that actually even earlier on in the season, like if they lost a game, they were struggling at that time as well. He said he couldn't really go out with his family to the city because the fans would just be so bad towards him and his family. So yeah, it was serious stuff. Like it affected everyone in the city almost.
So basically, just looking on from previous results and what happened in recent matches before leading up to that final match, obviously, where it got canned. So we do know that the game got called off in the 65th minute because it was actually delayed a few times, obviously, because smoke bombs and fireworks were thrown onto the pitch as well as chairs. It's just, it was basically leading up to this because in the first leg, both teams got a red card. It's just feisty match.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been such a good atmosphere to be at before it turned bad. It would have been a good experience it turning bad as well. But yeah, I mean, relegation playoff, it was always going to be scrappy. 2 red cards in the first leg, as you said. I'm not surprised. Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame how it ended. Interesting how it ended, though. At least it wasn't boring. It was entertaining, at least. But it is what it is. I think, I don't know. It's so difficult to say like whether they'll get promoted again because there's so many factors that go into it. Like all their good players left, so the squad's completely different. You don't know if they're going to be one of those clubs that bounce straight back up or just keep going down and down. So we'll have to see.
100%. And obviously, you played a few matches for Salernitana in their Primavera squad, and obviously, you're on transfer mark. But it'll be nowhere near as this feisty during those matches you played. But it'd definitely be intense. So you could feel the pressure when you're playing on the pitch.
Well, I mean, if we lost, well, I mean, the first team, they obviously had quite a few foreign players. So almost, obviously people not from Salerno. Whereas with the Primavera, most of the players were from sort of around that area. So it almost meant a bit more to them. So when we lost or drew, it got really messy pretty much after every game. Like there'd be a fight either on the pitch. I remember the worst one, we drew 2-2. Or not even. When we lost to Napoli. When we lost to Napoli, we lost in the last minute at home. Those were bad scenes. I think there was a fight on the pitch after even the managers were fighting. I mean, my manager was the main instigator, if anything. And even as soon as we got back to the changing rooms, they were obviously next to us, and it definitely didn't stop there. Everyone was chucking bottles, chucking chairs. The staff were having to try like barricade the doorways because all the players were just so angry, so fueled by losing to Napoli. Obviously, our rivals. So everyone was trying to get out the door, bust the door open, and our staff. Some of them were trying to get involved as well. Others were a bit more level-headed and try to barricade and stop everyone from going out. But everyone was chucking bottles, chairs. I remember another one as well. I think there was police. There was police involved. There was a fight in the tunnel between us and I can't remember who it was. Crotone. We drew 2-2. We were 2-0 up and we conceded 2 late goals. And in the changing room, it was the same sort of thing. We were plucking water bottles. All the players were trying to break down the door. It was messy. It was messy for sure. So yeah, I don't know if that was like that after the first team games. I don't think so because I don't think they would have had that same passion. Italians are very passionate. Most of the first team players, well, a lot of them would have been foreigners. So I'm not too sure, but I'm sure after that Sampdoria game, I'm sure there would have been some bad scenes in the change room after.
Also, because obviously in Argentina, there's like police at every single game, even like, my games, the sub-19, the sub-17, even the junior games. May I ask, in Italy, when you played for the Primavera, was there police at every game?
No, there wasn't, which is weird because from what I've even experienced, the games are probably more feisty even in Italy. There was a fight, as I said, like pretty much after every game, like either on the pitch or in the changing room. So it was probably needed. I can't remember there being Napoli. There might have been police, 1 or 2 other bigger games, but in general, no, there wasn't. There wasn't. There wasn't.
So I guess it's something obviously the Italian federation have to look at because obviously, in Argentina with AFA, there's police at every single game. And because, the Argentinians, they're crazy. Same in Italy, I guess, because what you're saying, it's just typical Italian behavior. Always have fights after games, smoke bombs thrown on the pitch, chairs on the pitch, fireworks, everything like that. So I guess the Italian FA really do need to get involved.
I think they do, yeah. Especially for the bigger games, they definitely need to. But I mean, that's the Italian football culture. So almost you don't want to almost take that away, because obviously people will be a bit more behaved if there are a lot of police around. Obviously for the safety and stuff, there probably should be police, but I don't know. I've got some. It's probably more memorable without them there, because obviously there's more action after. It's a bit more interesting, but probably for the safety, maybe they should. I don't know.
So I'm reading a quote from the Salernitana CEO after they obviously got relegated. It says, "We hope to restart from Serie B. We do it from Serie C now, obviously. We know very well that the third division is very complicated. We start again immediately, learning from our matches." So Serie C now coming up for Salernitana. What do you think we can expect?
Well, as I said, it's so difficult. It's so difficult. New players, new manager, new sporting director, I think, as well. So, I mean, I know a few of the younger boys I was playing with. I think they might have moved up to the first team now, because most of the players would have gone, as I said. So difficult. I mean, Serie C, there are so many more teams, so it'll be difficult. I mean, it'd be a difficult league, especially if they have a younger squad. It'd be a difficult league just to get promoted straight out of. I think it might take a few years. So we'll see what happens.
So it's definitely obviously going to be a big transfer window with Salernitana. People leaving, people coming in, probably more people leaving than coming in. But what do you think is going to happen with your fellow Australian, Aiden Rustic? What do you think to expect with him? Is he going to leave? Is he going to stay?
No, he'll definitely leave for sure, if he hasn't already. There's no way he's staying. I mean, he won the Europa League a few seasons ago with Frankfurt in Germany. He's playing Bundesliga. So I'll be very surprised if he stays in Serie C. Obviously, he plays for the Australian national team. He'll be going to the World Cup next year. So I'll be very surprised if he doesn't move. Well, he did try to move in January, but Salernitana didn't let him. They were fighting for relegation. So now that they're relegated, he'll definitely be moving on for sure. No chance he's staying.
So you said that you've done a first team training session. What do you think of Ristic? What was his attributes? What was his weaknesses, strengths?
Yeah, well, I had a few training sessions with them, as well as they played friendlies against the Primavera almost every week. So I versed him pretty much every week in training. And I think he was the best player in the squad. His left foot it's deadly. He's not fast. He's not like a good dribbler. That's not his game. He's more of a technical midfielder. His left foot passing is unbelievable. His free kicks. He scored a free kick, obviously, last season. To me, he should have started every game. He only started towards the end, I think, when they got a new manager. But for me, he's probably one of the best players I've played against. Even if it was just in training, he was definitely one of the best players for sure. So no surprise he plays for the Socceroos as well.
Do you think his style of play suits Italy? Because obviously, as we know, Italy is very structured, tactical, and defensive sort of game. Do you think his style of play is similar, or would he be better going abroad to a different country?
Well, I think Italy. I think as a technical midfielder, rather, Italy would suit him. However, it is very tactical, and he doesn't speak that good Italian, so that's why I didn't start, I suppose, most of the matches, because the manager doesn't trust him, because he can't understand the tactics properly, which you would need to at that level. So in terms of suiting Italy, I think as a player he'd be fine. Like, you know what I mean, in terms of technical ability. He's also quite feisty off the ball as well. He's a good defender. So I think if he spoke good Italian, I think it would suit him. It would suit him a lot more for sure. But maybe it would be better off going to a league where he's more comfortable with the language.
Yeah, obviously, we will keep an eye on Rustic to see if he does leave or not. But just basically summing things up, that the last point is that Salernitana was hit with food poisoning, which led to the second leg being postponed.
Yeah, I mean, it was a disaster a few weeks. It seemed like from the outside, it seems like it was a disaster. It's a shame. It's a shame.
Yeah, it is. We'll definitely keep a close eye on Salernitana next season in Serie C. Obviously, with them demoted, you lose those TV rights. You get less money. It's pretty hard for a club to survive when they go down.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's why they got relegated from Serie B. They were in Serie A. But you see it a lot of times, like Sunderland. Obviously, now they're back in the Premier League, but they went as far as League One. They got relegated from the Premier League to the Championship, then straight down to League One. So it's the exact same situation. It can happen. Less money. All the players leave. It takes a while to rebuild. So we'll see how long it takes Salernitana if they ever do rebuild.
And just one final question as well, is that when you trained with the first team, apart from Aaron Rusic, was there any other standout players you thought were pretty good or could make, in the next few years, a half-decent move to a good club?
I think Jeff Rain Adelaide, I mentioned him before. He played for Leon. I think if he was fully concentrated and fully trying, he was the top player. He was the best player if he was fully concentrated. There were glimpses of that, but his mind wasn't in it, so he wasn't consistent. But when he turned it on, his dribbling, yeah, he was definitely one of the best players for sure I've seen.
All right, you heard it there. Salernitana, disgrace of a club. They're going down to Serie C. We will see how they do next season if they bounce back. But on a final note, we always enjoy your company, Sammy, for coming on this podcast.
Perfect. Thanks. We'll be on again soon.
Yeah, definitely. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Have a good week. Goodbye.